Good
It's
afternoon.
all going now. It's all going. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So I'm here now with Cam, and today we've got someone special.
Very special.
It's been special. That's why I kept him for quite a while, and that is Stephen Thompson. How
Hello,
you doing,
boys.
mate?
Great. How you going?
Great to have you.
It's okay.
Great to be on.
Let's have a look. You brought your bottle, man?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, what is it? Let's have a look at his bottle first. Let's dig into yours. What
you
is
do
it?
the honours, mate.
Yep.
So that is less than $50?
Yep, less than $50. It's
Okay, but that's more than 49.
No. Who spends 49 on a bottle
Well,
of wine? What's wrong with you guys?
Well, listen, if it's not good, you're never invited back. You need to understand that.
Oh, good lucky. It was under 5 was okay. I picked the worst spot. No, I didn't really. It's
Mate,
actually-
you've just spent 5 minutes telling me how much your office loves Cristanola and hates me. So this
Chris-
better be a good wine.
Chris who?
Otherwise,
Chris
we're
who,
going to have
that's
a
right.
problem. Yeah.
Chris who?
Yeah, we're going to have a problem. Hello, girls at the Penrith office. You've stuck with me. I hope you enjoy.
And it's not Penrith, it was Richmond and Penrith.
Well,
in
that's
the
combined.
Cristanola
Very
fan
good.
club.
The
Like,
Cristanola fan club.
plus, you scared them all anyway after the judging competition the other day. They're going, oh, I'm glad we don't work at Carry On.
Steel
Gee,
sharpens steel, mate. Steel sharpens steel.
Anyway, this bottle's a Peppertree estate-grown Pinot Gris. It's from Wrattonbully in South Australia.
Yeah.
But it's actually produced by Peppertree Wines in Picardo.
So they're getting the
they
wine.
imported it from down there up to Picardo. So 2017.
Yep. I like that house. It's a nice house up the Hunter Valley.
Peppertree's nice here.
Now, is it true that
been
all
there
your
for a while.
bottles overflow, your glasses overflow?
No, mate.
No.
And then Thomas he just drinks water because he's got to dry.
That is correct too.
Oh, we're off to a flyer. It's going to be trouble.
Oh well, boys, how's it been going
Cheers.
since the competition? Cheers, man.
Cheers. Cheers.
Sales competition last week. How did you find it?
It took me a week to recover. I'm starting to get back there.
Oh, nice.
That is nice. Wow.
Oh, really? First up, nice wine.
2017 Pinot Gris, not bad.
I don't think we've had a Pinot Gris on here yet.
No.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not many people dare coming with anything else but Chardonnay. So
Oh, really? That'd be my last choice.
actually, we had a good Semillon. You remember
Yeah, I had
that
a-
Semillon
yeah,
you
we had
had?
a
That
couple
was
of
really
Sems,
nice
yeah.
too. Yeah.
I nearly went a few different ways today. We'll get to mine in a bit. Got scared at the end and went with the old faithful Chardonnay, but
Oh, come on, man. We have to test and
we
try.
we do.
And
we have to get outside our comfort zone, like those people at the sales
Oh,
competition.
exactly. The 14 heroes in the group.
Yep.
And that's all you hear, really, people talking about it. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's in the office or outside the office or other leaders. It's, those people who had the guts to stand up and do what they did.
It was crazy what they went through. I said to my team, they haven't believed me, but I don't think I would have done it.
I told my team, we had a lunch, there were the 15 of us and Marietta was there. And I said to Marietta, I'll be honest, you've got balls that I didn't have because I didn't have the balls to go in that competition.
I don't think it's just the balls, it's also the sacrifices because these people here knew the competition was on before Christmas. Imagine their Christmas holiday, man.
Yeah.
I actually visited Spitaleri's place and I saw young Giampiero and he was asking me stuff. He was training during the Christmas break. And so there's an enormous amount of sacrifice. People don't realize when they're standing there, yes, they're nervous because there's a lot of people watching them. Yes, they're nervous because, there's an opportunity to earn a good check here. But they're also nervous because what if the 6 to 7 weeks leading to that went to waste? And so I think that got them quite nervous.
Yeah, the anxiety was real. Obviously, I saw it in my office with a few of my guys being in the competition. And from the time that we entered the competition, the anxiety was there. It got real bad the last week or so, but...
Yeah, in what
Yeah.
way? What happened?
Oh, nothing. When I say
You
bad...
took time off?
The anxiety, just the nervousness about it. And, obviously being married to one of the contestants, I had a bit of more of an insight.
How is that for you and Darren?
Mate, I'm still... You said you didn't have the balls. I'm still waiting for them to come. When did you get the balls? My wife is anxious on the best of occasions anyway, so
Yeah.
for her, it was there. Bad was the wrong word. You could just see it. And I felt from the whole time. Because as I said, I don't think I would have done it. I mean, Crystal's adamant that I would have because my ego would have got the better of me. But, mate.
But the proof is you didn't, though. I mean, like me, if it was going to get the better of you, it would have got before it closed and you would have been up there last week.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't.
Or you just
I don't know if there's any.
Crystal.
No, it's not that. I would have crushed and destroyed her. But the benefit as a business owner, was there for me not to do it. It wasn't there for me to do. And to put my guys in a position that they've never been put in before and they may never be put in again, they're going to be hard to make anyone feel as uncomfortable as those guys felt on that day. And, what situation can't they handle now?
Exactly, yeah. and you can see the change. I mean,
not only in a real estate sense, I mean in a life sense. Like,
even Marietta has realised that part of her fear is more in the public speaking side. So she's gone off to join Toastmasters just to give her that. And she said, I've always wanted to do it. When I first heard about it, I wanted to do it, but I now have that opportunity to go and do something to improve public speaking. And we always talk about, we create our own children. She said her kids are now talking about, Mum, if you were game enough to go up and do this, then maybe we should do this.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing.
So it's not changing just her life by doing it. It's changing the families. And you can see the people up there, the things that they had to go through just to get there, let alone on the day. If their life doesn't change, there's got to be something wrong.
Yeah, I'm still not sure Jake's forgiven me yet, but he will at some point.
Oh, who needs forgiving? It's all right.
Why? What happened with Jake?
Oh, he was, of everyone, he was probably the least experienced and the most nervous of anyone because he's never dealt with a buyer at an open home and he's never been in a lot of the situations. And when he saw who he was up against, I got a text message as I was walking into the club, "You've stitched me up here." And when I walked in, he was a bit pale, the big fella, but he was the only benchie that got up there and gave it a crack, mate. And
I think he gave it a good crack.
No, actually, Giampieri is a benchie, mate.
Oh, he's a bit...
But I didn't realise that, like, watching him, I didn't put him down and say, well, he was the most inexperienced guy up there. I mean, he could hold his own, and I wouldn't know he hadn't dealt with buyers.
But this is the quality of what we have, right? So if I could really shock you guys, the winner, well, she's not a full sales. So hold on, I was listening to a phone. It wasn't your phone.
On my phone, mate.
Okay, that's
Stephen.
Might have been Stephen's phone.
We haven't had that yet. We haven't had a phone go off in the...
Stephen hasn't had a mobile phone that makes a sound for about 8 years, so you don't have to worry, it'll ever be him.
So I want to tell you, boys, that the winner is not a full-fledged salesperson. So this is how high the bar has been raised, that our salespeople, they can't sit down and rest on their laurels because we have young up-and-coming people who are so hungry and would do anything just to get their skill to that level. That's crazy.
And who see no fear. That's the best thing I like, is that you look at the younger people, they just stood up there. All right, there was nerves, I understand all that, but they just stood up there and did what they had to do.
Yeah.
So it's like you say, I think that next generation that's coming up in sales are going to think nothing. They apply for a job at 18, it's like, so will I be listing next week?
Yeah.
Do you think there was more people in the room glad they didn't do it or wish they had?
Oh, I would probably go that there was probably more glad in the room they didn't do it. There was a lot of remorse in the room, I think, as well. But I think the people who didn't do it and who sat there as an audience were happy, I think, to be there in the audience, especially when Cam Mark II came after morning tea, that certainly, scared them a bit. But no, I think there was a lot who realised that they were happy that people were up there and, let it go. Why do you think different? You think that there was a lot in the room that regretted not going?
I didn't have a feel for the room at all. I was having enough troubles sitting where I was sitting, mate.
I'd take it off the judges, really. Like, sitting there, I don't know whose seat was hotter sometimes, the judges or the contestants.
I had my watch on, got to 168 beats per minute, my heart rate at one stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
Is that when you're being nice or when you
No, it wasn't. It was
director?
The whole thing was real tough. From the moment we got the questions and I realised that we hadn't trained on some of it, to the look on the guys' faces when the first questions got read out and 14 people realised that they probably hadn't trained on some of it, to having 3 of my team members in the actual competition and one of those being my wife. Like, I had not as tough a day as them, but I was ready for bed by the end of it, mate. I felt every single bit of it. And then trying to score it, I mean, man, it was not fun.
Yeah. Oh, well,
it was educational.
I think the judges did a great job, though.
Yeah, I mean, you've been a judge before.
I've never been to one of the competitions before.
Oh, really?
It must have just finished in Synergy when I joined.
Right, I see.
So I'd never actually been to one. So I'd heard them talking about it, but never actually been to one.
I thought that you've done it before.
No.
Oh, I see.
But it was good to watch. And it's funny you talk about being tired when you go home. Do you know being in the audience was just as tiring? Because you were sitting on the edge of your seat, basically feeling what each contestant was feeling. And, at the same time, I'm looking at the crowd, and you've got the crowd that are there to support, and you've got the experts who would never have the guts to get up, who were sort of sitting there going, oh, that was wrong. I mean, who'd do that? And then you had the people that are there going, yes, you can do this. Come on, no. And they're nearly wanting to whisper the next answer for them. But it was such a camaraderie in the room to have that, you know.
I'm glad I didn't get to see any of that, people telling people they were wrong or judging them up there, because that would have done my head in. These people are up there giving it their absolute best and doing something that you didn't have the balls to do yourself, and you can sit there and especially if they're vocalising it, if I'd have caught any of that, mate, it would rub me right up the wrong way. It's human nature, I get it, but what sort of humans are we trying to be? The bits I did catch were mostly when the applause came. I mean, at one stage, Dazza got applauded for just doing the objection handling skeleton correct, and small moments like that I picked out I thought were brilliant, and they heard that on stage. But I think if there were people that were sitting there judging and critiquing in the negative, I think they need to have a good hard look at themselves if any of them are listening to this, because that's rubbish.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah, well, that's fair. The judges really were stressed because the things were happening live, and they had 5-6 scorings to do every single time. So when a person finished, they still were scoring.
Yeah, it was hard work.
And I think there was a lot of work. Plus,
I tried to slow it down. I asked the guys if we could have a minute break in between each contestant, because you need to listen to everything that the people are doing and judge them accordingly. And some of the times I'd looked up from a score sheet and we were halfway through someone else's. Crazy intensity in that room, mate.
I think the other thing I also wanted to address is the questions in the first session. Like, I know you said it was a bit difficult, but really none of those questions were outside the manual.
No, 100%.
We have the basics, and I think that this is what people need to understand. You can't just go through the manual and think that because you've done the speeches, you know the manual. The manual has got all of those words around the speeches for a reason. Is that so? If you can master all of those things, then yes, I think that you have a great career in sales. If you don't, well, outside those speeches, what are you going to do? I think that when someone stands in front of people and doesn't know more than 5 ways of prospecting, what is he going to be doing? He's going to be phone prospecting or door knocking for the rest of his life. When someone stands at the front and may know all the keys of negotiation but doesn't even understand how is the key of power being used and how do you play it, then chances are they're not going to be doing that out there.
Yep.
You know, you have to really dissect, take the manual. And I think that whoever's done that, win or lose, those 14 would have gone to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, they've already gone to another level, but we did our first training session this week was a review of that competition and where we need to improve and what things were missing, and the basics was mentioned because obviously we all copped a shock when those questions were coming out. And I explained to the guys and they all 100% agreed that having that knowledge, even though it's not practical in a speech sense, yes, it's not a speech, but having that knowledge behind you helps all those speeches come along anyway. And knowledge is power when we're talking to people. So it's something we're going to focus on more now. We've agreed to study certain pages of the manual each week and have exams on it. And that was them coming up with that. I just stood at the front and wrote on the whiteboard.
That? Apart from all the great things I would have got out of the sales comp and the experience that the ones who went in it went, now they're saying, hey, can we change our training to include this, this and this? Like, imagine the power that's now got.
Oh, mate, that's why I had a fair bit to say on one of our podcasts previous about people who weren't entering the competition or leaders who weren't getting behind it, because there was only upside. There was no downside to it happening. Now, my guys, even though Darren won $1,000 and Crystal won $500, they spent the weekend lamenting the things they didn't know and the lines they didn't use and I should have said this and I could have said that, and they've brought that straight into the office. Said we need to train on this, and this because we want to be better. Because they had to feel that they were the ones standing up in front of 100 people missing stuff, and the winning is a powerful thing. But I think in having that experience to say I never want to feel like that again, or I never want to get asked that question again and not know the answer, is just as powerful in the opposite way. So,
and it sounds like it's been a pretty common consensus. The officers that had those 14 people, their training had to step up a leg this week because they've all come back and said, this is what we expect now, this is what we need, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I heard some of leaders who were telling me that their staff are actually pushing their training, that their staff was actually not happy with the level of training. So that's a plus, that's a win.
There's only upside.
And I think that, the people who were not in the room were the first losers.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon sometimes I see people going to extreme length just to attend a seminar on sales. They come back and they've learned 2 lines. I'm sorry, but there were hundreds of good lines in that, in just that one single day, because you have 14 people who have to dig deep just to find something that nobody else has heard before. And sometimes, yeah, we've heard them before. Sometimes we heard things that people were saying, hey, I've heard it before, but I didn't use. But then sometimes you heard things that still made my wife laugh today, because Veronique's still laughing about the Netflix when she heard about the Netflix and 25 minutes to find the movie. She still remember that. And those are the good closes, because they're coming from people who spend 6-7 weeks thinking about the lines.
Does it develop that off the manual where it said the video store, but the video store's not relevant anymore? So that was training the day before he brought that up and said, well, there's no videos anymore, but what about Netflix? So,
and is Veronique imagining Thomas sitting there with the remote for 25 minutes?
I don't. Actually, it's her doing it.
Oh, it's her who does it.
Yeah.
Kim tried to say it didn't take 25 minutes for her to find a show. I'm here to call Kim out and say, bullshit, Kim.
Well,
Yeah, who knows exactly what they're looking at on Netflix? Rubbish.
Yeah, what we've got to check is Kim allowed to have that remote? Really? I mean, she's got 2 kids and a husband, and, you know, maybe they've got the remote and she's hoping one day she'll be allowed to have it and find out what it's like to use.
What about the leaders who were not there? I mean, we understand about the teams not being there, meaning they stuffed up. They didn't have the opportunity to learn those 1,000 lines. But I think that the leaders, first of all, the leaders who had a competitor there should have been there.
So there were actually, I know you said that. I was trying to look in the room and see. So there were competitors that had no leader there.
Yeah.
That's disgraceful.
Or they had one of their leaders, you know. And I think that when you have someone going outside and going beyond their comfort zone, you have to be there. How many parents take a day off so that they can attend their children's biggest moment? When you have a guy who's about to go through the biggest moment of his life and he almost won if he ended up in the top 4 and you're not there, are you serious?
That's bad.
You got a problem.
But I think the leaders who just didn't go, whether they had someone or not, I think they lost what it's all about. It's being in a group. You're in a group, you're in a family for a reason.
Correct, yeah.
If I didn't have a competitor there, we still would have had the same 15 people there. It wouldn't have made a difference, because that's what you're doing for the group. And you're still there for other people. I mean, there's people where, you know, even Lisa going, I went to recruit training with him, he was there, and they were there. And others have said the same thing, that, oh, you know, they were in my recruit training class. You've still got that camaraderie that for the group. Mm-hmm. So for a leader not to be there, it basically said, it's not worth my time. I shouldn't have any of my team there either. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
Listen, mate, we're not camels here. You're going to have to understand
Yeah,
this.
you got to feed us, mate.
Yeah, it's one thing to it's your bottle, you do something with it. Yeah.
Okay, so the rules weren't given to me there. That's okay.
Yeah, but you also have to finish yours, otherwise it's unfair.
Yeah.
No, stop.
I've got to fill yours up because, you know, like, isn't it every time I've head from your direction, I run into an RBT unit? So it's
not the days that we do wine and wisdom.
Oh, okay, wine and
they
wisdom.
know to stay away.
It's not out today.
Yeah,
Actually, while we're talking about this,
I'm
and while you're
surprised.
finishing your thing and then fill it up, some people have been talking about maybe we should be releasing the bottles that we're drinking a week before or 2 weeks before, so that they have the opportunity to go out and buy and then drink them with us. But I'm not so sure, because, you know, if you look at the podcast, you can see the wine, freaking go out and get it. If you can't, skip it this week, get the bottle when you're ready, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea, and then I discussed the idea with my significant other, and her point was just going by the one before you listen to the podcast, if that's what you want to do. But some people, I understand, because Christian is such a great guy that they can't wait and have to listen to the podcast on the spot. Hey,
Stop being jealous, mate.
Mate.
He's a nice guy, right? So
He's a legend, the big fella.
What
But I don't need his fan club. Come on.
And it's like, you know, I feel like I had such big shoes to fill, but after what you told me about Chris, it's like anyone could turn up now. So
The only thing that's big on him's his waistline, mate. No.
Anyway, I couldn't have put my bottle up 2 weeks earlier, because when I got a phone call yesterday saying, what are you doing tomorrow afternoon? I need you down here.
I didn't say I need you down here. I would like you to be here.
Would you like me to come down? Then, yeah, I
To
could
see
have had the 2
how
weeks notice.
leaders who exaggerate things like this, what the
Prone to
hell you
hyperbole.
reckon happens to
Prone
their
to
team?
hyperbole. We're talking about...
That is totally ingratitude. We're teaching people about gratitude, but that's ungrateful, right?
You can't get away with any bullshit here, Steve.
No, man, this is
There's
how it
no-
works
there's
here.
Already warned it wasn't beer and bullshit, so it's all got to be the truth.
Well, beer and bullshit is coming. It's an idea I'm developing. But I think I drink too much. So we're going to...
No, I was talking to another leader, and I said, not only you're not there, which I think it was out of laziness. He didn't want to be there because that was a day wasted. And he didn't get his team there. And that's when I said to him, that's the leadership fuck up. And that's a big one. Because as a leader, we are constantly looking for opportunity to get our team to think the next level. I tell my daughters all the time, life, success, anything, sports, school, it's all about 20% skill, 80% attitude. When you get someone to go out there and listen to people, yes, you may learn the lines, that's 20%. But when you see people who are 3 months in the business getting into the top 10, when you see people who have attended the recruit training 4 months ago or 3 months ago and who are now in the top 4 and who end up winning, suddenly there is something inside you that get inspired. That's why we love heroes. We love heroes because they inspire us to the next level. And so a leader who does not understand that, I don't think he's a leader. That is not someone who understands inspiration, right? So as a leader, we have to seek every single opportunity to get our team to go to the next level. And we have to keep them away from anything that just keeps them on the norm, not going out of their comfort zone. That is our job. As a leader, it's not about, I tell you to do something, you do it. No, it's about you finding those nuggets of gold where your team can really spring forward from there. You know, and I think not getting a team there or not even understanding that, it's an impediment to leadership. And I feel for the team who are being led by a leader like that.
I nearly didn't go. You know that. I was,
I didn't talk about you, man.
As late as
I was talking about
Wednesday
some Cameron
night.
Wilson.
Yeah, no, that's all right. As late as Wednesday night, I wasn't going. Now, my reasons for not going, I thought were valid. And, yeah.
You might as well share if they're valid. What were
Oh,
they?
I had no staff. So I had one kid who's been with us for 3 months and is on a written warning to hold 2 businesses open. I had no one to take my kids to school in the morning because my wife was in the competition, and my mother, who's 174 years old, is struggling a bit at the moment. And I had 4 interviews booked in and I had listing appointments booked in, and I'd spent the best part of a month and a half or 2 months training the guys and getting into work early with them to get them ready for that. And the last thing I wanted in the world was to not be there with them. And having seen what they went through, like, thank God I was there. But at no point was I thinking me not being there as anything other than, like, I wasn't happy about it.
No, I understand it. But look at it this way. What about one of those sales guys who just had a baby, who for the last 6 weeks, because he had a baby just about 2 or 3 months ago.
Hasn't slept, yeah. I know.
For the last few weeks, has not slept. For the last few weeks, really, do you really think he wanted to put that time into those books and manuals? So what about you sending out a message to say, you know what, I feel for you, and this is what I also do. I think that, when you stop and you look at just, this is the one day when I have these sacrifices. This guy has gone through 7 weeks of sacrifices. So I think, man, you had no excuse, right?
That's
so
right.
thank God you turned up, because you wouldn't be talking right.
Yeah.
But for someone who always tries to find a good way out of something, I closed my Penrith office that day because everyone who was available to work there wanted to be down supporting Marietta.
Browell was closed, mate.
So we closed it.
Yeah,
And the worst thing is your kids didn't make it to school and they got to come and watch their mum, a hero, standing up in front of the crowd, that would have been the best thing.
I think if there was a mistake, that was a mistake you
Who
made.
fucking invited him to this podcast?
I'm sorry, mate. That's why he's going to come
Bring
back.
back Danola.
No,
He can
because-
only put 4 words together. And mostly it's you've
What
got a big
prick.
fat head.
You can't say shit like this, man.
Yeah, but I didn't... Look...
Yes, you miss an opportunity to inspire your
I
kids.
did.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine. But it was not out of...
Out of stupidity.
It was out of stupid. It was out of not thinking. It was out of... I didn't have a solution to the problem we had. And look, I don't want to go into it, but my mother fucking does enough for us. So that was a huge...
Yeah, but then don't go into it. I mean, why do you say I don't want to go into it?
No,
Then you
no,
just
but,
explain.
but all I'm doing is making excuses.
saying
My
is-
thought process was governed by,
Yep.
we can't close the offices,
And it's your mother's fault.
and it's my mother's fault.
Yeah.
What?
For being too old and not being apt to take the kids to school properly.
No.
I don't think he quite said that. I don't think we
No,
should
I'm
take
just
the
trying to
fall
understand, because I'm trying to cut the story short, man.
She's not well, mate.
I understand that. So
Right.
you didn't have to depend on her, mate.
Well, I didn't because I didn't think of taking
Should
the
have
kids.
Uber.
No, I should have brought the kids.
No, that's right.
That would have been great. Mum! Indy, shut up.
Maybe that would have helped him
I
to
need
let
to go
go.
to the toilet.
That may have helped him let go of the rope next time that he's swimming.
No, that's Indy, not Isaac.
No, I'm talking him. I'm talking to him.
Isaac would have been, you said the F word again.
So let's have a look now. Let's go beyond that now, guys, and let's have a look at some of the leadership issue here. What's going on? Why is it that in a small business, most leaders are reverting quite often, and especially under stress, to just making the people work their bum off, and think that working their bum off without increasing or improving their skills is going to make a difference? Like I'm sure, for example, one of the leaders, he didn't take his 5 salespeople there because, well, that's one day's work. Okay, but that's one day's work of them not improving. Let's imagine they come back with a listing. I'm not sure it's going to sell, but let's say that they come back with one. What about them coming back with more? I had a call from Sam 2 days after, and he is still jumping up and down. He said, Thomas, I got 2 listings out of this already. I've just used 2 of the lines. The guy's, he's jumping out of his skin because he thinks that of all the years he's been in real estate, just the few lines that he's learned and the few tips he got just took him to the next level. But little did he know, it was the inspiration that he saw. Seeing people who had the guts to go out there and do that. And he said, man, that little Giampiero, I can't believe him. Right? Because he's known Giampiero since he was a child. And now this kid is standing out there, not trembling. Any question, he just came back with an answer. And Sam just still couldn't believe it 2 days after the competition. And that to me, man, you can't buy it.
There's a huge lack of foresight, and we talked about that when no one was entering the competition, the lack of foresight and the lack of being able to see what this thing potentially could bring. Like, we'd been drinking at Scarborough when you brought up the idea, and even after a few bottles of wine, it was a no-brainer that this was going to be good for the business and good for the network, so get behind it. But it can lead a horse to water and all that stuff. So yes, there's a lack of foresight, but did we not do a good enough job of selling it to people?
I think the people who were there did the selling. It's the ones who weren't there. So
to get more people there and more people involved. There were people there that had none of their team.
That's what I mean, though. But there were people there who had a team who didn't. But then there's, like you say, people with 5 team who didn't come. So
why was it a good idea to have your team there, but not a good idea to have someone in the actual or people in the competition?
I think we spoke about that already. There's a lot of vanity. I know that quite a few teams came up to me, the managers, and actually said that, the teams are now ready to do it next year, or there was one next year. And I'm thinking, I'm the one writing the questions. What if I just change the entire format? You coming to this competition to see the format so that you could be ready for next year? That was silly. In life, the entire thing, to win that $2,000 check, that was all about going to a place you don't know and do something about it. It's like if you went to a listing presentation, do you think you know in advance what kind of owners you're going to meet? What style of house they're living? You've got no idea. You go in the dark. And the competition had to try to simulate as much as we could the darkness of a real listing appointment. The stress that you get when you knock on the door and you're going, I hope they're going to be nice people.
Yeah, a lot of people had to go at me about the way I went in the objection handling, but there's a few points to that. One, there was 10 people there and 4 of them were going to make money, and we had to separate the people. So had to put people under as much pressure as possible and see if anyone was going to crack. Because the scores, after 2 rounds, I had 6 people on the same score. So try and separate. Someone else said to me, well, I've never been in an argument in a listing appointment or an MR ever. But what if you were? And what if you could handle that off a break without any worries in the world? So I don't,
And someone had to have the director style about them anyway. It needed to have that director.
What bad could come from it though? Like Josh and
Luke. Putting someone under stress. I mean, it was a competition. So everyone's sitting there going, yep, move on to the next one. Yep, move on. That's not a competition.
Everyone's saying, oh, glad, I wasn't up there in front of you. But those 2 guys that unfortunately drew me twice were up there in front of me. And now they've got all the confidence in the world that they can handle the biggest dicks in the world. And let's be honest, sometimes you get a vendor who's a dick and sometimes you get a buyer who's a dick.
Well, not all our clients are model citizen clients. They are designed to be tough.
No, but to me, if you don't get into some kind of disagreement or heavy discussion with a seller, you're not asking the right MR.
Well, I was singing that.
You're not asking enough on MR, man.
Whoever said to you that they've never gotten an argument in a listing or an MR, have you actually been in real estate?
Because, you haven't pushed.
Well, it made me feel a little bit bad because I get in them quite often. but they're always on the premise of they're being honest with me and I'm being honest with them. To those guys, if they listen to this, all I was after them to do was stop for 1 second and go, how can I help? Because obviously I've annoyed you somehow and check in. And instead they kept coming back at me. So fuck it, if you're going to keep coming back at me, I'll keep coming back at you. What I would do in that situation if I'm in someone's house, and I've been there, where somehow we were getting along nicely and then it turned a bit aggressive, I've pulled back and said, sorry, I've missed something. Let's get back on the same page. And all the carnage would have ended had one of them done that. And I gave them that feedback afterwards. We've got to put people under, and that's what training should be. We put people under that sort of pressure. What's your sweating? Bleed in training so you don't bleed out on the street? Or?
No. Sweat in training, so you don't have to bleed in combat.
Yeah, well, that.
Yeah, bleed in training, you have no more soldiers, mate.
Yeah. And everyone to a T.
Not left.
Everyone to a T in our office came back and said we need to be harder on each other in training.
Well, as you know, I work with in my Richmond and Penrith teams, there's only girls. And it was interesting, the dynamics of the ones who go, oh, gee, I was always a bit scared of Cam, but I mean, now I'm even more scared of him. To the others who went, you know what? He made that a competition. It wasn't up there to sort of just swap. It was tough. You fought them a bit and you went that just to see, will these people keep fighting or are they going to run in the corner and cry? It needed that. It's called a competition for a reason, not just stand up at a prayer recital and say something and go, next, as I say, working with all girls, you see the different dynamics, who's prepared to push that bit further, who was going, okay, and you could watch it on their faces. I mean, I love watching crowds. I love watching people. So, yes, I was paying attention to the contestant, but in the same breath,
you're a voyeur.
I'm watching people, not in that way, thank you, but I was watching the faces of the people who think, yeah, I could do this. But then as soon as a tough question comes, they look down and think, no, I'm glad I wasn't up there, or the one who's, as I say, you see that on the face and they're wanting to whisper the word to the person because they're so close and they want to help them. And it's just interesting that you watch and you could see the ones who go, oh, gee, he's a bit of a tough guy. And the other ones who go, yep, got some competition now. Let's see how this person sweats because, as you said, we need to sweat in training.
Yeah,
Lauren Wells came straight out after that and chose me as her partner for the role plays. That's the difference between, oh shit, Cam was too hard and I'm scared of Cam, to the chick who won the competition came out and said, you know what, I choose you. And she wasn't to know that section wasn't set up to be adversarial. We weren't meant to cause any issues with that. They were meant to teach us. So she was never a risk of me being tough on her with any of that stuff, but she wasn't to know that. And even Butcher said...
Are you saying that you're responsible for her winning?
No, I'm just saying the difference in mentality.
No, that was Kim.
The difference in mindset to someone going, oh, that's a bit harsh and oh, geez, I hope I don't get him, to I fucking choose you.
And hence why she won.
So you girls in the office and everyone everywhere who is on different sides of that fence, work out which side you want to be on, because I choose the one who goes, I want that.
It was actually also nice to have a few mothers there and a few spouses there too who've never seen real estate, because they could now see. I was actually very, very happy to see Angela being there for her son Giampiero. And you could see all day long, mate, the pride of a mother, seeing a young son who a little while ago just started in real estate. And what he's doing now is just crazy. That kid, his future is going to be fine. I think that gave the entire family a feeling that they're going to go on for weeks. Competition is the fantastic thing. I was thinking about what you just said not so long ago, Stephen. The person who sat down there and thought, oh, I could do this, and then listened to the next line and thought, oh, no, I couldn't, was no different to the person doing it. But the person doing it actually was conquering the demons, where the person sitting there and saying, oh, no, I thank God I didn't, were actually giving in to their demons. And life, or the measure of how much you achieve in life, is how much you actually conquer yourself.
But I think that then now goes back to answer the previous question, why did leaders not come and why did people not bring their teams? Because some people just aren't at that level. They don't think like that. Didn't think of what it would offer their team in a day. They didn't probably think of the camaraderie, and maybe, as you said, they thought of that one listing the team could get or the one sale. They didn't think of the 10 sales that someone might get now after having that. I can tell you.
They're probably the same people, though, that lament a lack of training or say things like, oh, the team's not training hard enough, or even though they're not doing the training themselves, say stupid shit like,
or they say
they
our
don't
team's
train.
really well trained, and then, you walk into their office and say, what's the first 60 seconds? And someone goes, the what? The first what? And then you straight away know they're not training.
Yeah.
Even with Port Macquarie, we've got Cheryl in our office. Now, she's been in real estate for 28 years, and she's had a bit of a different style of real estate. I think she might have been commission only most of the time, and, she made a few sales each year. She was happy, that was for her. And she's had a little bit of a settling into our office, but she said to me, I have never experienced training like this. Yes, I had to get up at 2:30 Thursday morning to do my makeup and get in the car and drive down for 5 hours. But I've never experienced something like this. And I can tell you, every day since then, that girl's had a result.
Wow.
You know, it's just, you can just see that it was like just that click she needed to think, I'm part of something bigger and let's go. You know, if that's what happened for that person, that's awesome. If someone else picked up a great line, everyone's going to get something different out of it because they're all at a different level to get something else. But if you don't even go...
Gave my wife all the confidence in the world, mate. She hasn't stopped giving it to me since, so thanks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
That's good.
No,
You
mate.
probably need some back. From what Chris says, you probably need a bit back.
Mate,
You had your partner there. She's never been in real estate. What do you think of the day?
Oh, she's still... I think she's up with Crystal. She's still talking about it now.
Right.
And she still refers to things. So, I mean, she's done recruit training. So, I mean, Lisa's done that and she sees them in the office. She just talked about the people, the strengths they had. And I think even the word heroes was something we talked about. Of these people might not have been out fighting a fire or rescuing someone, but to get up in front of those people is that same level, same quality, same calibre. So she was just wowed by it.
there's nothing that could have expanded your comfort zone more than that day. I've talked once before about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I went through a stage where I used to find things that I hated and do them on purpose just so I could get more comfortable with everything. We keep saying intensity, but the pressure and intensity that was on that day, mate, they grew exponentially. And my wife jumps out of planes. I think she's a moron, but does it without even breaking a sweat. I saw some sweat from Kay Wilson sitting on that stage, you know. For people not to see that and not be there and not understand the magnitude of it is sad. It's not even disappointing. It's just sad because you know that they've lost. But on the flip side, I don't care. My team was there. It's a great life moment for it. Forget real estate, forget business, forget listing appointments and all that shit. What a life moment. Like, not a lot of people know, but Darren has played the last post in front of 45,000 people at Sydney Football Stadium on Anzac Day at an NRL game. And I had to remind him of that because when I saw the anxiety levels in him, I said, mate, you've played the last post in front of 45,000 people. This is nothing. Playing the bugle for him, easy. Doing that, it far outweighed probably even that performance of his. Huge.
But I don't argue. I've stood up in front of 1,000 people at a dinner and done a charity auction.
Yeah.
Think nothing of it. Stand up in front of that group. Next in my office who'd like to volunteer, I just wasn't going to do it. You know, so as I take my hat off to them.
But did you realize there was not one single manager in there? This is the question. I love to see the mechanism behind people's behavior. Why is it that a salesperson should pay $50 when I'm a sales manager? I should have more knowledge and I shouldn't pay more. What if I wanted the $2,000 that Veronique was offering on the day and I decided, hey, Thomas, I'm going to go in it?
I would have give you all 2s and 3s, mate. You were no chance.
Yeah. Would that be fair if my entry ticket was $50?
But then ask the question, if the entry ticket was only $50, how many managers would have been there anyway?
I understand that, but what does it mean then? We have to make it out of comfort zone, right? If I was to enter it, hopefully my ticket was going to be $1,500. I mean, I've said it before and I said again, I want to organize maybe a competition with other trainers.
Yep.
I think that our entry ticket should have been something like 10 or 20,000. Then maybe the winning things can go to fire services or whatever it is, but why not? I mean, if we think that we are at that level where we can really train people, then what's the problem with putting money behind those lines that we believe in? And I think that that's the key. Until they really do the competition, cannot understand what people put on the line. I say this all the time. I have done this all my life, right? I have been brought up spoiled, a spoiled brat, man. I didn't have to do much. Whatever I wanted, I got. So for me to come to a country like Australia with $400, that was out of comfort zone. For me to go into a school studying English and stand up in front of secretaries and telling them, listen, I paid for this. I want best class, not shit class. That was out of comfort zone. For me to say, listen, you know, I will do a school magazine. That's out of, I mean, everything. And I think that life only expands as much as you are willing to go out of comfort zone. And I think, to me, seeing those guys doing it, I wish I really had my kids there. I wish my children really saw those heroes. In many ways, my children are hanging around not only heroes, they do heroic things. Like the twins this morning woke up at 5, no electricity at home, but because they had to be at school for their tennis at 6:30. The twins had to go during the break to the gym. At 4 o'clock, they start their next 2 hours of training in the gym. So those things, for them, it's out of comfort zone. And why is it that I'm okay? I mean, there are times when I'm being a bit of a wuss and I said to Veronique, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe they're only 12. Why do we push them this hard? And Veronique said, no, what do you think life is going to be about? What are we pushing them? They're going to be playing. They're going to play a game they like. What is it waking up at 5 to be on court at 6:30? There's people who are rowing who are at 5 o'clock in the water. You know, what is it having to do 2 hours later on? Then afterwards come home and then having to do homework because you start later than everybody else and you live far away from the school. And I think it makes sense. The more you go out of comfort zone, the more you grow. So I think those bastards should have paid us for the opportunity they had.
I'm thinking soon I had 2 out of the top 4 that I might take you on in that trainer battle, mate. I've got my confidence up.
We've just worked that out.
I've had a couple of glasses of wine. My Dutch courage is up. So
that's great.
Let's go, bro.
I think
it
would be great.
Yeah, it's cliche, and I used this last night when I was talking to somebody who was struggling with their comfort zone. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, and I can't draw a diagram because we're doing audio, but every time you step outside at that circle, if it was your comfort zone gets a little bit bigger. The line I used a little while ago was get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It just makes, you experience a whole lot more because you are trying things. I will not ever jump out of a plane. But just about everything else, I'm willing to give it a crack. That's just something I can't get my head around. But for the other leaders or the other business owners out there who aren't encouraging their staff to do that, I feel sorry for you because you're going to be working for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Well, it was a great stories about the competition. What else happened with your week, boys? Anything new? Anything special we want to talk about?
Bad weather in Barrera. Jesus.
Yeah, what happened there? Gee. Man, after the fire, what is going on? We're trying to drown everyone.
Oh, man, so much water. I don't know, mate. If I was into the universe, I'd think someone was trying to tell me something about opening an office in Barrera because every time we've tried, there's been a massive act of Mother Nature. Not a small one, not a little bit of rain here or a bit of wind, absolutely colossal storms.
Well, you're very lucky because the storm didn't just hit Barrera. It actually hit a lot of places, so you don't have to worry about that.
It wasn't just Barrera, don't worry, was it?
Yeah. Unless the universe trying to send all of us a message to get out of business. So that's not a major concern. I feel for everyone who has had damage. I had water in my rumpus room. It went under the sliding doors. But that's part of the deal. That's not a major concern. I want to share with you, boys. Last week, I had an amazing podcast. I actually interviewed a guy who entered McDonald's at the age of 14, who now runs and owns, 5 McDonald's. In his heyday, he went up to 8.
I've sponsored him a lot of his life, mate. Yeah. I've contributed many times.
But you know what really surprised me about him? This guy's got everything just to stand up there, taking the microphone and just talk to me as if I was a nobody. Man, the humility in the guy. And I think that's something that I really think we need to have a look at. Why is it that the All Blacks, one of their top 3 values is humility? What makes a person who actually can go out and buy a Porsche like I go and buy a piece of cheese, sit down and have so much humility, talk about people as if like they're all his equal, does not have to show off. It was an amazing podcast. It's been a week now. It's still with me. I'm still under that feeling of, hold on, what is your true identity? Is to have the success that the westernized world has set up as parameters of success happen to you, and yet it's not really changing your core values.
They're the most successful people in the world. You don't hear from the godzillionaires ever, do you? The richest people on the planet, you wouldn't know who they are.
Apart from the sort of top 1 or 2 that they promote every year.
Oh, unless someone else told you about them, but they're not on TV carrying on.
You see the 3s and 4s and you never know who they are.
You wouldn't know.
Like, exactly like this. They just live their life, do the good they can, and
they don't carry on. The best sports people on the planet, you don't hear from them. Like the press shoves a microphone in front of them, but you don't hear from them. All the guys that are top 20 in the world down, you hear from them all the time because they're never going to be number 1, and that's why. Success leaves clues, man. It's not that hard to figure out. The richest people on the planet, if money's your thing, the richest people on the planet, you don't even know who they are. Why? Because you never hear from them. Why? Because they have humility. And then maybe that humility is the reason they got as successful as they are.
Well, I think that's the key, though. If you think if you can run a business and and run your life like that, you're going to have the following, the people, the people that want to stick with you, the loyalty.
We work in
It
real
just
estate,
follows.
mate. And every time I see someone spruiking about how good they are on Facebook, who's another real estate agent from another franchise or from anywhere, you just know straight away they're not successful. They might be successful in, I sell 50 houses a year successful, but they're not successful in, I'm going to be able to create a business where I don't have to work anymore and have 50 people selling 50 houses a year underneath me. The loudest people, and it's the same. There's a saying for old pub drunks like me, it's the quiet ones you got to watch. The bloke who's in the corner of the pub yelling and screaming, you don't have to worry about him fighting you. It's the bloke who's sitting in the corner not saying a word that's going to knock your teeth out. And it's exactly the same. You've only got to look through the list of the most successful people in the world. It's never the loudest bloke. It's never the loudest
Are you
bloke.
saying we have to be worried about Stephen today?
No, he's saying way too much, mate.
You're a bit worried.
That's why you've never got to worry about me, because I'm all just hot air, mate. Hey?
All right, mate, let's dig into your wine, man. What have you got for us today?
Almonds. All right. So the very first podcast we did, we talked about how Chris and I went to a cellar door in the Hunter Valley, and they told us that no one does buttery Chardonnays in the Hunter Valley anymore. You can't get them, and our winemaker won't even make them. And then we went to the next cellar door, and it was to Julius, and I said, there's heaps of buttery Chardonnays, go here, here, and here. And we talked about the ego of it and the competition of it.
Yep.
And that cellar door that we went to that said there was no such thing was Cockfighter's Ghost.
Yeah.
Another tip for people, the bottle next to the Coles in Barrera, great bottle shop. I went in there, they got all the Hunter Valley wines, they got quite a lot of boutique wines. It's a local liquor, so you wouldn't think much of it, but great bottle shop. So I went in
the shopping.
the one in the shopping centre
Yeah,
next to the
okay.
Coles. It's
Okay.
a local liquor, but I actually had a crisis of choice because I'm like, which isn't.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
It's
Then,
a bit different
You're
here.
going to win every one in wisdom from here on then.
Well, maybe not, because this isn't meant to be a big buttery Chardonnay, but this isn't the one we tested while we were there. We tasted. This is their reserve. It's a 2016 Chardonnay.
Should be nice.
And I thought I'll give you blokes a chance.
Okay.
All right, so we'll see how they go.
All right, let's try it then. Stephen, what about your leadership, man? How is it going with the women?
He's surrounded by women, mate. He's doing something
You've been
right.
working for so many years, mate. While he's doing all this, I might as well just ask you. Is leadership of a bunch of ladies harder than leadership of a bunch of boys?
Yes, definitely.
All right, cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
I know I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here now, but
That's not bad, actually.
Oh,
Might have to stop looking at the bottles that say
ladies
Chardonnay and throwing them back.
ladies
you
and
know.
gentlemen.
It's not too bad.
It's
Danola
got a bit
said-
of butter to it too, Cockfighter's Ghost. I'd hate to tell you.
Danola said you wouldn't know a wine if it slapped you in the face, but that's not too bad.
Danola has no grounds to stand on as far as wine goes.
so just to ask you
Yeah,
a
so
question
going
again.
going back to working with all women versus men, and I guess I get the best of both worlds because Port Macquarie and Foster have got men involved. But it also gives me it's an easy question to answer. You just have to deal with them in a different way. You would understand, Cam, I think, dealing with a guy, it's just straight face to face, guy to guy, it's how you sort something out.
Yeah.
With the girls, you just have to listen a lot more. Let them talk. You sort of understand and explain what they really want to talk about. And it takes a little bit longer because you talk to a guy, you go, mate, you're crap, step up, this is what you need to do. If I said that to every girl, I'd have tears every 5 seconds. So you just talk to them about why and what they're feeling, and then very quickly you move on and get the same result. So
Thomas said, is leading a team of girls easier than leading a team of guys or a mixed team? And you said, yes, it's easier. But
I think it
what you
is
just
easier.
described to me doesn't sound easy.
no, I actually think it's easier.
Having to listen to what they actually bloody want and care about their cats, dogs.
That's why I have him, mate. He will say the shit that wouldn't have the
It doesn't
audacity to
sound
even...
easy. Kicking a few blokes when they're not doing their job, piece of piss, mate. Having to listen to girl troubles 24/7.
But it's not 24/7. I think that's the difference. A guy will...
Love you, ladies.
Sure now. No wonder they love Chris Danola. He just proved it. But the difference, I think, with a guy is you will have to go over and over again quite often with a guy on the same point. There's things I don't even bother saying at Port Macquarie anymore because it's like they've heard it for so long. They're not going to change. That's how they are. Just keep doing it. As long as it's not breaking our culture, it's not costing money, and it's not hurting them in any way, let it be. Whereas with the girls, you can probably change that a lot quicker. I mean, I'd love to hire some guys. I'm just waiting for some to apply, and I've got my first interview with a guy on Monday, probably for this year, because I haven't had any guys in at all. They just don't even apply on real estate. And maybe because they see a team of girls and go, I don't want to be the only other guy besides Stephen. I don't know. But
That's not a very smart ploy, because being the only guy surrounded by women seems like a good idea.
no, because my partner Lisa is there every day of the week
No,
as
I
well.
don't mean for you. I mean for the guys
for the
that aren't
guy.
applying.
Yeah.
I wasn't suggesting anything there, so wow.
So, but I mean, no, actually, if I never hired another guy again, I don't think I'd be bothered. I know how to work with the girls. And Louise is not going to have a problem when I say this, but Louise attracts guys in Port Macquarie, and I seem to attract the girls.
Like attracts like, they say.
And it's nearly not wrong. You know, I think when some things come down to it, I'm the sympathetic, more caring side of things. Louise is just come on, mate, I'll take you out the back and smack you in the head if you're not going to do it kind of thing. You know, like that's just the different style. Hence why she probably attracts the guys and I attract the girls. But if I never hired another guy, I wouldn't have a problem. I think
How do you, on a serious note, how do you deal with the emotional aspect of it? Because I don't think it's sexist to say or keep the Me Too movement away from me, but women have a tendency to be a little more emotional, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. But
And we're in an industry and a job that is
So-
fucking emotional.
you know, a box of tissues is only 95 cents at Aldi, and we do buy them in bulk, so that's okay.
He even skims on the tissues, mate. Get the 3-ply with moisturiser, you tight bastard.
If you ever tried washing your glasses with aloe vera tissues, I wouldn't be able to see for a week if I did that. But so no, look, you do need the occasional tissue. But do you know I can't remember the last time really I had one of the girls crying. I mean, if you have fun, we've got such a fun environment, and we do a lot of stuff together. And we've had some, I guess, bad times. Jessica's had a little bit of bad health recently, which she just got the all clear on, so she's cancer free, fantastic. You know, lot to follow
On you,
checks,
Jess.
but you know, it's been an emotional time, and yeah, we've had a few tears with Jessica, but it's not work related tears. It's worry of what was happening, but I think it's just the fun. You make that environment. You know, they also know that they can come and have a cry if they really need to have one. And I think if you put it out there, I mean, the last time the last real guy I remember I employed, I turned around and said something to me. He grabbed me by the collar and, wanted to have a punch up. Now, I never have been one to sort.
Can't imagine why.
I've never been one to want to sort my battles out with my fists, So if sitting down talking to someone and it takes 5 minutes longer, because I'm not going to sit there for half an hour, I haven't got that time. If it takes 5 minutes longer to listen to what someone's got to say, then let it happen. So, no, I think it's easier.
I don't know if it's easier because they're women or easier because they're men, but I know a lot of my struggles is not having a one-size-fits-all management style or leadership style. So for me, either having a team of all men or a team of all women in some ways would be easier than having a couple of guys and a couple of girls, because they are so different and we do have to manage them in different ways. If I had a team of guys, we could yell at each other all day and nothing be done. If I had a team of girls, yes, I'd listen for hours and hours and hours. But I'd listen and you'd know what you're managing. Whereas in my office, I've got to balance the both with the both, and I could go 5 seconds after talking to a guy and saying, come on, mate, pull your head in, it's time to go to work, to trying to have the same conversation with one of the girls that has to be done in a completely different way.
You know already, so you know that you've got to have that different conversation.
But at my current skill level, all right, that's still a battle I have on a daily basis. When I started, mate, it was you're all the same. I'm going to speak to you all exactly the same way, and you take it how you take it. And if you cry, you cry, and if you don't, you don't. And I'm changed and I'm growing, but it's still sometimes I'm like, if it was just all the same, life would be easier.
Probably the difference I find is, unfortunately, I have a relatively high level of sarcasm. Sometimes the sarcasm will come out, which stops the tears coming and brings a little bit of anger towards me.
Unfortunately, because we're men, when we say that women get emotional, it's always taken as they always cry. Emotional isn't a bad thing. It can also be the other way too, because quite often you've got to calm down a little bit in a good sense.
I think it's just realising the battles that you want to pick as well. And I mean, that's advice for anyone with teenagers too.
All of them.
You just decide which battles that you want to pick and which time you want to jump in and really prove your point that I'm right, or listen to someone else's point to see what they're doing, or just think the world's not going to change if I don't sort this out, and you let it go. And I think that's probably the part that you do more. It's you can always tell who is very emotional this current week. They're the person that you go have a nice friendly chat to. We're not going to talk about any performance issues. You just know when to pick it. You become a bit of a good reader. You would just be the same. You've got a wife. You know when's a good time and when's not to, you know.
Yeah, but I just go in anyway.
You're going anyway. No.
Get outside your comfort zone. I think it's a missed opportunity in a lot of senses. Women have more natural gifts than guys do, I think, when it comes to sales, or especially in what we do, because empathy and care is so important to earning someone's trust.
I agree.
I don't get a lot of feedback from vendors or whatever that have spoken to other agents that have been women where they've said, oh, that guy just seemed slick and, wanted to wheel and deal, which us guys often, if we're too salesy, get labelled with. And it's the one thing, one of the very few times I've agreed with you, TL, about my wife is put her in front of someone, no one's ever going to say no, because her level of, and it's her listing their property.
Are you
I've never said no to that either. But, and it's one of the reasons that she is still great at the sales side of things. And I think a lot of women don't realise it or don't believe in themselves enough. But if you can go around to a house and have someone fall in love with you in a completely non-sexual way, but in a friendship way, they're going to sell their house with you. And I think we miss a trick. I think you're on a gold mine having an office full of women if they are portraying those values and if they understand that no one will ever say no. How does a woman going up against a man ever lose a listing if they understand that I can just be the mum?
And I listed a house the other day and, get on perfectly with a client, no issues. But the one question she said, you do have some women work for you, don't you? And it's like, I only have women work for me. But I thought, it's funny. I'm the only guy and they still wanted to know those women. So I find it, when we look at the clients they attract, and I'm sure there's sometimes we miss out on the odd listing because I don't get the opportunity to go back as the man that maybe someone was looking for. But realistically, who makes most of the decisions? Who comes and looks at homes mostly the first time? It's women. So it's become a very, I reckon in 10 years' time, possibly there'll be no men left in real estate except the principals because it's becoming such a female-dominated industry.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I was just 10 years before my time, but, The
skill level comes in the close. I think as long as we can train our ladies to close, because people still need to know that you can do business. People still need to know that when you're standing in front of a buyer, you're the person who's going to get them the most money. Apart from that, all they want is empathy and care and someone to understand their situation. Who does that better than the mothers of our world?
That's right.
And even the ladies who aren't mothers yet in the literal sense, you're put on this earth to be one. So that is going to be innate in you. So then it's just our job to teach them to close if that's where they're lacking. And, mate, the gold mine's there.
But I also think watching the girls, if they're, and most of my team have got family, so if they're away from their family, they're more determined, I think, than a lot of the guys to make every minute they've got count. Guys will come to work, they'll go home, I didn't get a result, oh well, throw me a beer, give me the remote and I'll be okay. Whereas...
Don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah. And whereas the girls are thinking...
He's got cameras on my wall.
Give him his remote back.
He's got a knife, I'm not game. But, whereas the girls are thinking, well, hang on, no, I missed out on picking the kids up from school this afternoon, or I missed out on doing this. Now, and that's one reason why. Years ago, I would never have thought of doing it. But, over the last 5 years, we insist upon the parents going to all the kids' events. Someone will go, oh, look, I just let you know Johnny got a certificate. Did you go? No. Never again will you miss him getting a certificate. Wow. Oh, it doesn't matter. Dad went. No, because you know what's going to happen one day? The kid's going to remember Dad went to everything and Mum went to nothing. So now it's mandatory that they must attend every single school event. Wow. Who cares? It's an hour out of their day or 2 hours or half a day. The kids will remember it. And some of the kids go... Thanks, Stephen. I really appreciate Mum coming along to this. Or, you get the gratitude back from them. So, and you do that. With guys, they probably don't want to go to things as much. But so the
that's
girls,
not fair.
Well, some
I'll
do,
take
some
issue
don't.
With that. I'll fight you.
I've got to find something. But, they...
He said not as much. He didn't say...
They didn't say not at all. But again, if I had guys, I'd be pushing them. I had to threaten one of my girls once with, I will ring your school and get the yearly calendar to know what's on and mark it in your diary. Very quickly, her diary suddenly appeared, this, that, and whatever. When Andrew was at school, I was one of those dads that we used to joke around that I was at school if they were going to open a tub of yogurt because I was just at school for everything, because I was a dad. And part of his schooling, or most of his schooling, I was a single dad. But I raised him so he could go to school, and he needed to have his dad there because, I mean, Kermon Public School, every single mum was at school. I mean, every mum was at school, and there weren't too many dads, but he didn't have a mum who could go. I've learned it from myself. You do not miss anything. And there was nothing that Andrew could really say. I mean, I worked hard and I worked long hours. My dad went to everything, and that's what I want for the girls and the team. And even the guys in Port, Ed, go to this, go to that. You know, the kids will remember. So,
but I think that this is now you're saying it's not about really whether we have a full team of girls or full team of men. It's about whether we have grown in our leadership to be able to handle them and understand them. Because I can tell you now, I'm listening to you and I've never heard this. We've known each other, mate, what is it now? 12 years, yeah?
Probably longer, yeah.
And I have never heard you saying that you get all your ladies to go to all their children's events at school. That to me is a big point. If leaders really understood that, oh yeah, okay, it's 2 hours that you waste. It's 2 hours they don't have to make prospecting calls. It's 2 hours that they don't have to go to a listing appointment. But Jesus, the memory that you're giving them, they don't have to go home feeling guilty that they missed out. And I think that that's the point that you have, your ability to really get close to your ladies and do these things. They make a difference. I'm listening to you. I was watching you, and it's only a podcast, so it's very difficult to see it. But the joy that you even had on your face when you said, we have a lot of fun at work. We do these things, you know. I think that's what people don't get. As a leader, one of our job is to create fun at work.
But if you don't have fun, like, and even from my point of view, I mean, forget everyone else. If I had to go to a workplace where you couldn't have fun or a joke, and I'm the clown, you know, I am the office clown. I'll always be the first to pick on someone or stir them up and have some fun. You get them the laughing, you know, you get them there. And I mean, you taught me that, Thomas. I have to say that. I didn't. Once upon a time, I'm one of these dudes who used to, before I joined Synergy, I was one of these dudes who like, stop, not do your call, don't do this, don't do that, you know, like. And then I realised, I saw the light, and it took me longer. It didn't happen the first day. It took me a while to realise, especially employing females, you've got to give them more time necessarily. You've got to, you know, Cam expects his dinner on the table when he goes home. So,
Hey.
you know, like, no, well, you've got eaten so much cheese.
I know it's chicken, mate, so it doesn't matter. It's going to be chicken.
Oh, isn't it? You don't like chicken?
No, just chicken 7 ways. How many different ways can you cook chicken?
I was talking yesterday to a mother who said to me, you know, I'm going through a divorce. My leader at first said to me, you know, whatever you need, whatever help I can give or support, we here for you. Beautiful words. But what she said to me is that when she had to go earlier to pick up the kids at school one day, suddenly it was like, why are you leaving this early? You can't do this, you can't do that. If we're going to say we support people and we're going to really put up with maybe or even be there alongside them as they go through their ordeals, then we need to do that to the nth degree. We can't just say it in words and then afterwards show different actions. I'm sorry, but whenever there's divorce, ladies are always worse off. I don't care, they get a house, they get whatever it is, they're always worse off. Yeah, their entire life is disrupted, and now they have to go out there and make a living, just like a man, and then afterwards make sure that the mother side of them doesn't suffer. That they can be at home and cook for the kids, that they can do something. And as you know, real estate is a freaking long job, long day. So how do we learn to respect women for what they do and for the amount of work that they do? I mean, how do we find that instinctive mode that we have in us men? That it is all about hard work, the hours at work, and work like the buddies, work like the men. How did you balance that?
That's a tough one because I don't really know when it happened. I used to be like that. Do this, do that, you know, like it was, why haven't you done this? And I think maybe as I turned to a more all-girl office, then maybe I had to start thinking a little bit differently and starting realising that I've got mums. And, you know, I'd know most of the partners as well. So I'd know the ones who were getting home early and spending the time with the kids, which I worry about because that's dad and boy or dad and girl time, whatever it might be. But that's time the mum's missing as well. There's going to be that little bit of jealousy and resentment in that relationship because you're getting to spend more time with her than I am. So you've got to allow things like that. But then I could also see the husbands who were ringing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to say, what's for dinner? And I'd see no work get done from that time onwards. So in the interview process, I'd say, what sort of support have you got? Who cooks dinner? Because there's nothing worse than getting a phone call at 4 o'clock and your head's totally messed up for the next hour or whatever it might be at work and can't do any work.
Yeah, but what kind of husband would do that?
Well, again, and that's one of the reasons why I asked the question initially.
Yeah.
And we try to, spend some time with the husbands now to sort of work that out. Who's going to be? I haven't got to the stage where we're interviewing the husbands before an interview, or we haven't got to that stage yet. But that's coming, I think. I can see that coming in this world, to be doing that, because most women's career in real estate has been wrecked by the man at home.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting dinner on the table by 6, or expecting this, and I've had to work with some of the team too. We've got the odd partner who doesn't want to do things. It's like it's the woman's role to do this, but she earned $92,000 last year. Do you want that sort of money in your household, or do you want to go pack shelves at Woolies?
Yeah.
And we need that money. So then you've got to work a bit on that. I don't know when the change came, but I mean, you mentioned divorce. I've got 2 ex-wives, as you know. So I've been through 2 divorces, and sometimes it feels like I've been through 100, because I've attracted so many clients that are in the same situation. It's like, if you're going to get divorced, call Stephen, because he'll work with you and help you through it. But, I always look, and it depends on their role in the office. How is the office going to suffer if this person isn't here? As long as they're doing what they need and they need more time, it's okay. If they're in sales, I'm a little bit tougher. I look at the board. Are they on track?
Yeah.
If someone asks for something or needs something and they're on track, go do it. Hence why we've started the program with Marietta, and as of this week, it's moving to our entire sales team. It doesn't have to be the girls, or it's just guys as well.
Yes.
Our only rule with it is they have to make target first. So if you're a brand new person this week, once you've made target, you can go to that same rule.
Yes.
That you get a result, a signed listing or an exchange contract. An exchange contract.
Yep.
It can't just be a sales
An agreed
advice.
sales, yep.
You can go home at 3 o'clock either that day, if it happens before, or 3 o'clock the next day. I won't let it carry over to, can I bank it for a month or two? No. The guys, because some of the guys have started saying, hang on, I heard she gets to go home at 3. How come I can't?
Yeah, that's what I believe. We should never have 2 set of rules.
And
that's a wrong culture.
And we never had 2 sets of rules, but Marietta was a trial.
Yep.
We had to test this out to see how it was going to work.
Yeah.
And as funnily enough, Marietta said to Kiri in a one-on-one this morning, listen, I don't know if I can afford to keep taking my 3 o'clocks off if I keep getting results, because I've got other results to get. But apparently at 3 o'clock she clocked off and went home, and congratulations, you had a result, let's do it.
But that's the beauty about people, is that they have a choice.
That's right.
There's something in you when you have that freedom of choice. You don't have to go home at 3, or you go home at 3, it's a totally different feel. Yeah. I think that for her to get that freedom of choice is fantastic.
If someone, keeps trying to do it after, well, it's impossible. You can't get a result and go home continually and not be on target.
Me, I don't care. You can give me 20 days of results every single day, and I'll give you a week off if you wanted to. I've got no problem.
But you do 20 days of continued results in a row, you're going to be above target anyway,
that's
so it's not going to be a problem.
Right.
So that's why I took back what I was about to say, because you're not going to help but be on target. But again, that was something that was your idea, Thomas. And I know a lot of leaders have fought you on it, and there's still people now fighting you on it. But I don't at all regret that decision, which is why we've opened it up to the entire team, all 4 offices.
Yeah. Which really brings me back to leadership. Is that, listen, mate, in every day, in every ages, in every time, there's dinosaurs and the people who actually make it into Charles Darwin's book and evolve into something else. The people who are still trying to look for the trading post and advertise their home, they probably gone broke and probably died like the dinosaurs. So we have to evolve. The people who are fighting this new world of workforce where mums are forced to go out there and make a living. You think about this, For hundreds of years in the industrials world and for thousands of years, mum looked out the family. Mum used to make sure that the family unit is nice and safe. And now mum is forced to go out and fight the battle that dad can't do anymore by himself. And suddenly you're now asking mum not only to keep on doing what is in their DNA to look after the entire family, but on top of it to go out there to now fight, to now hunt. And I think that is the thing that is really forcing great leaders to now think differently, to think different step. If they are not going to die like dinosaurs, if they're going to evolve like great leaders, is that they're going to say, all right, what is reality? Well, reality has evolved, then I need to evolve. If I don't evolve, I'm going to die with the dinosaurs. That is the reality.
Reality is you get paid for 18 weeks as a mum by the government for maternity leave. Most people are coming back to work after 18 weeks. If they're lucky to have a mum or grandparents or whatever they've got to look after their kids. Perfect. If they don't, 18-week to 6-month-old kids are getting stuck in daycare so they can come back to work and afford to keep the houses that they live in. And whether they rent or they own, that's the reality we live in today. And you need to make that happen. If you want to employ these people, whether they're guys or girls, you need to look that we live in a flexible world today.
Yeah. I think you're inspiring, mate, in what you're doing. And I think that, mate, stuff's Charlie's Angel. I talk about Stephen's Angels now.
And I was going to use that as a tagline once, but, maybe now I'm not single. That's probably not an overly good tagline to keep going, Stephen's Angels, so...
Why? What's the problem? I reckon Charlie's got his own wife.
Yeah, I don't know. We never saw Charlie, so who knows?
Hey, listen, boys. What about trying my wine before it's too late now, right? Yes, that's right. Let's try this. I've got a 2014 Picardy. And Picardy is a wine in a winery in Western Australia in the south of Perth. Actually, this is a family who spend a lot of time in France looking for the right grapes. I reckon, I don't know, I haven't spoken to them, but by the name of Picardy, Picardy is actually a region that is north of Paris, between Paris and Brussels, if you will. It's probably a climate more for cold type of wine, so Pinot Noir, probably even Chardonnay. But here I've got a Merlot that is blended with Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. So there's 3 grapes, but mainly the biggest grape is Merlot that has 48% of it. So let's try this and see whether this here deserves to win this week.
I think the Chardonnay is winning so far, just quietly.
Oh, I don't know. I think
Not so sure yet.
Bit of a tie there, really, I think.
Yeah, I think to me...
Chardonnay was good. Yours is nice, mate, but that...
No, I must say, I see Chardonnay and go, no, that's all right. Let's grab something.
No, I gave him a hard time, but that
actually about that.
I gave him a hard time, but that the Cockfighter's Ghost Reserve it is. It's not the normal one.
All right, boys, let's try
Cheers.
this.
All right. It's not bad. Gotta get that white taste out of my mouth, but
I have to tell you though, I bought it because of the label. I looked at it and I thought, quite gothic kind of a label. I bought it, but also it's very rare that we drink Cabernet Franc. Not everyone would open a bottle with Cabernet Franc.
I've never heard of it.
We both saw Cabernet Franc and thought, he's bought another French wine in. He keeps trying to outdo us.
Not everyone drinks Merlot, and yet Merlot, it's a beautiful.
Yeah. And considering that,
grape.
like, if you talk about Merlot, people go, it's a bit weak, it's a bit runny. That's a fairly good wine.
That's a good job.
It's an interesting thing you just said, picking it on the label. What do you pick your wines on? Because we can't have tasted every wine on the planet, right? So, because I'm a Chardonnay drinker, I look for a year. And if it's got 2014 or 2017, I know I'm a 7 out of 10 chance of having a good wine. What do you pick your wines on?
I would go with the year.
Or a label that says Fat Bastard there.
I also would look for weird label.
For the what?
Weird label attracts me.
Okay,
and then a weird label will just get me to look at it. It gets me inquisitive. But I have to say that, in the end, it's the year is very important. I went back to Belgium and I thought, I'm going to get some wine and celebrate Mum's birthday. And I was looking into all the wine. I thought, let's go all out. Let's get some nice wines. And my brother-in-law said, no, right now, if you want those type of wines that I was looking for, you have to go between 216 to 15. You don't want to go lower than that. And I looked at him. I'm thinking, are you serious? We made 2019 and we're going to be drinking some 2015, 16. So I went onto some apps and had a look. And he was right. The wine in those regions were that. So you have to really go with the year that's right. You have to experiment as well, We're talking about some great wines here. Every single time we do a wine wisdom, beside Chris, we all paying attention to the wine that we bring. Yeah, so
that's a true call, mate.
Is that true?
He's fucking useless, bro. When it comes to wine, I love that man. I love that man like a brother. But when it comes to choosing wine, he is as fucking useless as he's a house brick. It does nothing.
We had dinner the other week with Chris at Muse, and he was telling me about how good he is with wine, and
he's
got
brought
his
one.
cellar and
I don't know how many wine and wisdoms we've done, but he's brought one good wine. That was the last wine he brought.
Yeah, he got us on
honestly,
that
he
week.
did, and that's the God's honest truth. So I guess for people, because there are people saying, tell us what bottles you're drinking before the podcast so we can all drink it together. You're going to have to do some research on what style of wine you like and then what years were best for it. We know that in the Hunter Valley, 14 and 17 have been the best years for Chardonnay.
Even 19 now they're talking
about. Well, they're saying they've all been pretty good since 14, but 14 and 17 were the standouts. And in a couple of years, it'll probably show that 19 was as good as those, if not better. Semillions we know have to be a few years old before you can drink them.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few general rules. Otherwise, find a cool label, man, and try it.
Yeah, if you drink a Semillon that is less than 5 year old, you're stupid.
And just similar on own? Or?
Semillon. Yeah.
And wines can get too old. There's some people.
Oh, definitely.
Danola fell for this when we were at his place. He's, this is a 2002 fucking blah, blah, blah. The cork had disintegrated into the wine and it tasted like urine.
The poor bastard opened 4 bottles in a row and we couldn't have more than 2 sips of each. At one stage, I think one of the first bottle, he looked at me. He goes, "What do you think?" And I didn't want to say much. You know?
He just raised his eyebrows like Thomas does and goes, I'm there going.
Thomas behind going, don't touch.
Oh, mate.
You know, I was thinking back to just talking about a team and everything. And I think team is the wrong word because it's family. I don't think there's nothing I wouldn't do for any of our team. But the sad thing at the moment is we've just got Jessica over something.
Yeah.
And between Louise, Di and Chris, who are my 3 partners in Port Macquarie, all of them have either just very, very freshly and over the last few months or over the last year have all got something wrong with their parents. Their mums and dads, apart from Lou, I mean, we're all sort of in that late 40s, 50s type bracket. Mm-hmm. Chris has got a mum, Di's got both mum and dad, and so's Lou. But in the last couple of days, all 3 have now got an issue with one of their parents.
Right.
Poor Lou is, dad's just been diagnosed with some cancer. Di's dad's been suffering with dementia, but I mean, she texted me last night at 10 o'clock to say he'd gone to hospital. It makes you realise that they're family. If I'd needed today, I would have cancelled this and drive to Port Macquarie. There's nothing I wouldn't do for a staff member. And I think that what brings you close and it makes you part of their family. I mean, we're having a lunch or something in a couple of Fridays.
Oh, is it? Where is it?
We can come to our office. I mean, the girls are cooking. I'm not sure about that.
Oh.
But, you can come down. It's all right.
He just said you can't cook.
Whoa.
He literally just said you can't cook.
I don't need to cook because it's like...
You just said the girls can't. You just said...
the girls...
You can come down, the girls are cooking. I don't know about that.
Well, the trouble is what
they were your words.
No, but you know what makes it? They're about to draw in the next couple of days, and by the time this comes out, they'll probably already have done it.
Yeah.
They're about to draw a nationality out, and they have to supply something that they're told. Country and either meal or dessert. So... someone who thinks that they're the best Greek cook in the world could actually pull out something that says Australian dessert, and they have to bring it in. So
get the pavlova from New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand.
I've said before, and will say it again, if you're going to employ somebody, you sure as shit better be ready to treat them like family, or what the fuck are you employing them for?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why would you hire someone that you're not willing to jump in front of a truck for?
Yep.
Why?
No, not everyone's built like this. There are people who are really, truly, fully
Got to spend
built.
all day with them.
Yeah, but they build in having a separation, man. There are people whose brain don't even have a connection with others. There are people, you look at the way that they treat their own children and their wife. I mean, there's no way they're going to treat their staff any different. Come on, guys. There's some different makeups. There's different stuff. I think for some people, you may think that you've gone overboard. You got an atmosphere that's nice, but this is now my question. Sometimes are we too nice that we can't really demand the best from people? Sometimes are we so nice that actually our people actually use us because they use that relationship as a withdrawal that they make, not you making, but they make.
That's the balance, isn't it? I'm on the opposite side, not on the opposite. Sorry, that's the wrong word. I'm more.
Well, I've actually heard. No, I haven't heard that rumor. I was only joking that you're on the opposite side, but.
You're a funny guy.
It'll be the last time I'm allowed here. But anyway.
The reason I didn't speak the whole time you guys were talking about that because I'm thinking about how much I profess, everyone's family and even with my own wife and how many times I haven't upheld that end of the bargain as far as helping people in that situation, helping people spend more times with their kids and how many times I've been transactional, even though in my head I don't want to be that way, but how many times that's why I didn't speak. You gave me a lot of pause for thought. Intention-wise, I'm on the same track. I want to be that person, but sometimes it's hard to find that balance. And then to Thomas's question...
Why is it hard?
Well, because you still need to get the best out of people. We're still in a business for results. We're still in a job where if we're hiring, this is going to sound real cold-blooded, but if we're hiring someone to sell houses and they don't sell houses, then what are we doing to our business? Where's that money going? So there's
So are you saying that being too nice or too close to your staff or to the group of ladies that you have in your staff is actually decreasing your results?
I think it can possibly to some extent if it's not done in the right way. I think there still has to be a level of, a modicum of respect that work is work and children time is children time and fun times with the team is fun times with the team. But when we work, we fucking work. I'm a young leader and a young business owner who's still trying to juggle all those balls. Make as many jokes as you want, but I juggle my balls at least twice a day. But
I wasn't even going to say a word, but
I've got him, mate.
just added it on, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't get
You
the
listen to
reaction,
him,
so-
you think he's about to say something pretty serious. And then he does shit like this, man.
yeah, well, you mate, life's too serious. Why so serious? Yeah, there's definitely a level, and there's definitely a line you can cross where if you put everyone getting along and everyone having fun to the detriment of results, then business is not heading in the right direction either. So how do we find that perfect place where even the mothers and even, you know, going home at 3 o'clock fine with a result on the board? So that's the balance, right? You get a result, you can go home whenever you want or go home at 3 o'clock. That is the balance because it's result, but then is that transactional? You can only go home and spend time with your kids if you get me a result.
I pay for you to work the whole day.
Yes.
So for me to sacrifice some of those hours, which I'm still paying you and you're going, it's not about transactional. It's about you earning it. And I think that this is the thing. I had 2 guys in my entire career that worked around me that I would say were the epitome of what I wanted to do in leadership. They work hard. They would be leaving the office sometimes that people would be scratching their head about. And they would just do things as if we were just family. But I always said to them from day one, you guys are my mate, but that does not mean that you have to use it against me. So as long as when we understand, when we working, we work. We do the best we can to make sure we get result. And then when we mate, we just mates. I mean, those boys used to come to my place, and Vernie can tell you, and have a meal in my place once a week. Sometimes they would just call and I'd say, what are you doing tonight? Oh, nothing. Oh, I come around. And so I'd have the 2 boys there. That was Brendan and Scott. But the 2 boys would go out of their way to make sure when it comes to result, never let Thomas down because that is our part of the bargain. I agree with Stephen. If I had to build a team, I only have women because I reckon they're the best sales lady. But there is something also in women when something doesn't go their way, they're the worst bitches, right? You ever had 2 women just having a go at each other? Like 2 boys, they'll have a go at each other. 10 minutes later, they go, mate, what's that listing? Can you give it to me? Mate, the lady's 2 years down the road, they still... you know, I mean, this is where then that means to me maybe you're not bringing the best at the table. Maybe you're not bringing the best to work because work is an environment where there's stress, where there's conflict, where there's a lot of things happening, and we have to make things happen, but we don't always have it our own way. Well, what are you laughing at? What are you laughing at him?
Yeah, I got something to talk to you about after this.
It's like now we're going to have another session after the session, really. But I think
Just someone holding a grudge, mate, over nothing. That was all.
it was the thing. I think though is really if they stop laughing, if they know, I think they know. I think if you do it right, the line is there. Majority of our people are there to do a job that's either high demand or to do a job that's going to earn you money, like extra money, as in commission. People know their place of what they've got to do. We can have the fun, we can have, and we can be close. And I've got 4 business partners that are women.
I feel for you.
I'm seeing a theme here, mate. What is it? I'm seeing a recurring theme here.
Well, why?
Office of only women,
it's
only
all
women
women.
business
Like,
partners.
Really, if you want to sit here and talk about...
I think you're mad. Mate,
Someone said the other day...
a guy, at least you can, if worst comes to worst, at least you can punch each other in the mouth and then have a beer afterwards, as Thomas said,
Yeah,
with
so
a woman.
the trouble is-
With a woman, mate. Oh,
The trouble is, you got to remember,
love you, ladies.
you know, I'm the guy that'll stand here and you go, all right, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. And it's like, bring it on. I mean, I'll see you in jail. But it'll be okay because I'm not a fighter. You know,
I'll let you punch me back.
No, but so I wouldn't. That's the difference. I would never...
No, he'll call the cops. You're in jail,
I-
and
I
then
would
you have
call-
to sell your
that would
home.
me. I would call
You'd
the
have to
cops,
sell your
and
home,
then
and
you're
you're
in trouble.
gone,
I
mate.
would never hit back.
And that would
You
make
know?
you. That will make you think next time before you just.
I'll hit back with words.
What
but I
about
would never-
metaphorically punch each other in the mouth? And if you're going to
Metaphorically,
if you're going to
but
carry on
really-
about it,
Really, then what's the difference? I mean, metaphorically, let's just have an argument.
No, that's
that's
what I
all it's
mean.
going to be, you know. So I think
You
if
can argue with the guy.
if you draw the
I think you can argue with ladies. Do you know what? This is.
You can. It's just not smart.
Do you know why he gets on so well with the women? He's got a lot of female energy.
He's got a lot of estrogen.
Yeah.
I
Right?
mean,
So his female. No, seriously, he understands them so well, man. I think you have to go with the leadership you're ready to go for. If your energy is just that creative, female, caring style, going with other female who are creative and caring, mate, you're gonna do fine. But if you are a caring kind of dude and you're going to work with just guys like him, you guys gonna butt head every single day. Mate, I
don't
would
talk about me like that.
I would have fired you after a week. I'm telling you, I would have
They
fired
should
you.
have fired me after all.
I would have. And I would have asked you to freaking go and ask money from your in-laws or from your family and live for the rest of your life, right? Owing them
What
money.
have I done to you? I've just
I'm
you've
just
just
thinking,
fucking turned.
No, I didn't turn.
You've turned.
I didn't turn. So it's different.
He's had something to get off his chest.
I could leave the room.
Do you need a hug?
Boys,
Yeah,
it's okay,
mate.
like,
Do you see that?
Or
Come on,
actually, you
He
guys could leave
metaphorically
the
just
room.
punched me in the mouth. And now I'm like, Stephen, I don't want to hit you back. I want to fucking smash you.
I'm just trying to get
The thing
Steve
is, I think
up.
I think they know the line, and I think they also know that there is probably a lot of generosity. So if it comes to the point that I need to go and talk to someone, they think, "Whoa, okay, this rarely happens. I could be in trouble." I don't do our one-on-ones. I did one-on-ones with the sales team when Kiri was on maternity leave, but now she's back. She does the one-on-ones. So I'm not there. I'll come in if I'm asked to come in if there's an issue, but I'm not the one sitting there. So I guess the other advantage I have is if I really can't do something, I'll go to one of the partners and say, I need you to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm the biggest softie in the world, but I will see what's right because I look at the team as a global. And if you're not performing or you're letting the team down, you're not just affecting me.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like you. I'm not going to jump out of a plane either. If I jump out of a
Fuck
plane,
that.
I estimate we've got about 28 staff who are going to suffer somehow if that plane goes down or I fall on the floor and die.
Right.
And you and I have talked about this before, the things we'll do and the things we won't. Although you went in a plane, so you beat me more
Mate,
recently
the other
in New
reason
Zealand.
I'm not jumping out of a plane for purely selfish reasons. I think it's stupid and I will die. I'm not thinking about what anyone
But
else
I
has to do.
also think that, I think
What he's
more
saying is
globally.
the parachute would not have the weight.
Well, that's
You mother.
Do you know the weight ratio he needs? He needs a parachute that is in the
good.
shuttle.
Yeah, good, mate. Good on you. Good on you, brother. Love you. You've turned. What have you?
Yeah.
So let me ask, right?
So I'm going to ask you another question now, Stephen. You spoke about something earlier, right? We all have to go out of comfort zone to improve, yes?
yes.
So
hire a man.
how, 2 marriages that have failed. What's going on with this one? How is it going?
This one's going good.
Yeah.
Because I
So
think I've
what
learned
is it?
lessons.
What is it that you've learned from the other 2 then?
I'll go back one step further.
You and Lisa aren't married? You're not married
We're
yet?
not married.
Okay.
No, but
That's
I
what's working.
When you live, well, I don't know. When you live with someone 24/7, I mean, really, it's
Is
just.
there a marriage come in?
We might have been out looking around at certain things on the weekend when we're in the city.
Oh,
So you never know. It's. I mean, what's the saying?
there might be best man coming up, bro.
Third time lucky. But
I don't get invited to many weddings. I love you. Can I?
Yeah, but you should know why you're not invited.
Oh, I know why.
you've been the
I'm just
bouncer-
trying to guilt people into it.
You've been the bouncer
I've
at a
been-
lot of
I've been the
weddings, I've
bouncer
heard.
at many.
Yeah, so just count those as ones you've been to.
Don't even want to come to your stinking wedding. Don't worry about it.
So I'm a stinking wedding now. No wonder Denola said he's not doing this anymore.
Don't worry about it, mate.
Let's
What
just wait till we've got a wedding to talk about. But I'll go back a whole step further.
Yeah.
This kickstart that we had this year,
Yes.
and I've changed a lot over the years.
We spoke about that last week.
Just
mate.
I missed that one. But this kickstart, I probably learnt more than anyone, and it was probably through bad behaviour, and it might have caused a little bit of trouble at home. But I suddenly realised that I hear what someone has to say, and I straight away go and tell them what my opinion is. I stop listening.
Yeah.
Part of that was because I was helping a lot of people as well. So I'd hear a salesperson say something and think, yeah, you're on the wrong track. Sorry, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
It became in everything. And then, of course, we create our own children, but we create our own staff. So then I suddenly realised I watched and people are talking. People are shutting them down. What would you know? Oh, that's no idea. And then we're talking about other things. And I'm thinking, I created these people. I've done this.
Yeah.
And it all comes back on me. And I started
So what you're saying is that you were watching your staff and you were looking at your leadership.
I was exactly. Right. I watched my staff, and then I watched what I was doing and thought, it's not their fault. It's all on me.
Right.
And then I watched another part of my team that did a whole exercise in a totally different way. And I thought, we've got the most positive people in the world, and then we've got the most negative people in the world. And I created that.
Right.
It was something that made me realise that it's something that's done. Now, what's caused issues in my past marriages is possibly sarcasm.
Give us an example of sarcasm. I mean, because I don't think that Cameron understands it. He doesn't do shit like that.
Can I ask one question first before we lose the topic?
Yeah.
So last week I said, why is it that more people got Kickstart this year than how long did you say you've known Thomas before?
Oh, it's got to be 13 to 15 years, I'd say now.
Righto. And how many times have you heard him say your team's a reflection of you?
Probably the whole 13 or 15.
So what was different this year? Because this is something we were trying to nail down last week.
Because probably for the first
My
time...
English was better.
Your English.
It's not, bro.
Kimberly Burke.
No, I'm honestly...
I can't understand you.
I'm honestly interested because even TL after Kickstart said...
Because I believe, and I watch it with my own team, because I take all my management team to Kickstart and to leadership. I watch it with them, and each year they get a little bit more. But this year I actually, when I was watching... It was, and this is going to sound silly, but I was actually watching what my team was doing at the same time as I was doing the same thing as the team. But I was sort of sitting back watching them, and as if I was sitting above them and just as an outsider watching how actions were happening. And then suddenly thought, God, I've created this. And I was doing the same thing at the very minute. And
but
then
what changed? So you haven't done that for 10 years or...
No, he hasn't
left.
He hasn't left his buddy
like,
and watched himself doing it for
a
10
strong
years.
wind would blow him over. It's the wind.
No. Do you know Ayrton Senna one day was driving around Monaco, and lap after lap he would just break the lap record. And Ayrton Senna, after 6 laps, was breaking it, and they were asking him to slow down, and he didn't. He couldn't slow down. He kept on going. When he came back into the pit, they talked to him, and he said, "Listen, guys, I wasn't driving anymore. I actually transcended my own body. I was outside my body, and I was seeing the car." If you watch a race in Monaco, if you ever have the time, go onto YouTube and watch Senna Monaco, and you'll see the amount of hand control and trembling, and then using the right hand to change gears in the middle of corners. You would really understand that, what he was saying is that he got to such a level that his body, his mind just lift off his body. And I think that was something that happened to you. When you said that, immediately I thought of Senna, because when you said I was watching them doing this, and instead of me watching it from my own ego, from my own 2% conscious mind, from my own little neocortex, I actually managed to just lift off and see the bigger picture of what was happening.
I've been able to do that for a little while.
Okay.
It's only sort of coming in the last
So you're
year
now
or so.
Senna, Charlie, Angel
I'm
shit,
not,
right?
But I've been able to just watch that. I mean, the girls have always wondered why I can listen to 4 conversations at the one time and be on the phone talking to someone. And I can come back to them and go, when you spoke to that owner, and they go, you were on the phone, I looked. Doesn't matter, I could watch, and then I'll go there. So I've developed that ability to be able to do that in an office. But I've noticed in the last year that I can do what I'm doing, but still watch. And I think that comes in because I realise if I can't improve my team and I'm going to sit there, just keep there talking to them and not see their reactions and not listen to what they're actually saying, then I can't do it. But I was, again, still picking a problem that was my problem.
So that's what I want to get. Yes, you saw your team from afar, and yes, you've levitated above earth and you're God and we love you. But what was the change this year out of 12 years that says it's my fault?
Because I probably did something to someone that I realised the minute I did it, said something to Lisa, that I did the wrong thing. I straight away knew that I had done the wrong thing. People say, why would you bring I had leaders say to me, why would you bring your partner to something like this? And this was before Lisa was even working in the office.
I've never said such a thing.
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you, because you bring your partner. Why?
Yes,
why wouldn't you? I mean, we had a discussion on Tuesday in our leaders training that said all of you should bring your partners into leadership, because the trouble I see is you girls are growing.
So it was Lisa that made you take ownership. I'm trying to work out why after 12 years you finally decided
Because
it was
maybe-
okay to say it's my fault. Because
I
we've been
think I
hearing
said
for
it's
12
my
years.
fault for a long time. I mean, I've always
But
said
see
it's my
that it's
fault,
your
but
fault.
it was the first time that I actually looked at what was happening, and I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I know that because I don't really think until I got home
Did
I
you,
realised.
did you look this year, or was you forced to look because somebody was pulling a long face next to you for about a day?
It's worth investigating.
realised-
I was
knew-
presenting, I saw it, man.
yeah, but I knew that. I knew. When
Did you stuff up?
Oh, I stuffed up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the stuff up?
We didn't let someone talk. Someone gave their opinion, and it was just their opinion, and we're asking for advice, and we're going, "Oh no, that's not. Oh, what would you know? You know, you've got no idea." But it was just someone's opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I think that's the thing that I realised we're all too quick to do. You know, like
We're all too quick to judge.
we're quick to judge, but we're also quick to very quickly throw out our answer to you. What about listening to that answer and maybe
Right.
it might not be my answer, it might not be the way I think, but
Yeah.
what if it's actually right? And then you can go, you know what? I never thought of it like that, but we can do this. We could work that way, and you find a different way to adapt to. All right, if you listen to it, then you might have to go, actually, no, that was a load of crap and you're totally wrong. But you decide which way to go before you jump in and go, no, sorry, you're wrong. And I realise that. We've done that, and I've created people who do that because they mirror you. I think now back to the times where have I done that to a vendor? I've done that to a staff member. I've done that to my own family. How many ex-wives have I done that to? You know, but it's everyone's got their own opinion, and it's even to the stage that if you tell me how you're feeling today, Thomas, whether Cam and I actually think, you know, really,
I think give a
what
fuck, really. But
what
I
a
ask
pussy,
him 'cause
you
I'm
know,
a nice
whatever.
guy.
It doesn't matter. That's how you're feeling.
The biggest problem we have in leadership, and it's everywhere, not just in our industry and not just in our network, and probably back to marriage as well, is a lack of ownership over it's my fault. So the reason I'm quizzing you so hard is because if we can unlock the key as to how all of a sudden after 10 years somebody goes, oh, fuck, it's my fault, when you've been told it's your fault for 10 years, we can probably help a lot more people.
I think if you're a leader, accept that everything's your fault. If
Have you been a leader for the last 10 years?
Maybe not your fault, but that you
You've
play
been-
a part.
you've been involved in
You
it.
play a part in it.
like, you know, if someone fails, I believe as a leader, it might not be. I mean, look, the person could have been a loser and you picked the wrong person to start off with.
Yeah.
But
It's your fault.
that's right. That's why I'm saying
picked
it
the wrong
comes
person.
back. It's your fault. You picked the
So,
wrong
so
person.
it's a very good thing, and I like to probably end this discussion on this because it's part of this week.
But we totally
so
missed. Just so you know, I have to say, yes, it is a great relationship I've got because we missed that. I jumped around and went to something else.
we knew that.
Great
We knew that.
relationship I've got. Learnt so many things over the years, and I've learnt to listen. I've learnt to be there for someone, and we just click. So now go to how you
No,
want
no,
to
no.
finish.
I thought you were talking about your
We were, but
your
I jumped to
partnership, and I
something
think
else,
that
you know?
Lisa is a beautiful person. There's nothing bad that I can say about Lisa. I think that it took you
He's a slow learner.
It's taken a lot of years
two
of my life. I
relationships
mean,
to go through some of those stuff. Some of us are genius in certain things and maybe not genius in other things. You're a genius in wealth building and maybe now you're a genius in relationship building. But I think that with Lisa, mate, you've got a freaking gold mine. No problem about
I
you.
agree
I think you're gonna
100%.
be
Yep.
you're gonna be fine. One of the things I wanted to talk to you though, you talk about people. How do you explain people who've been working for a company 4 or 5 years and then they resigning not because they're going to something different, they're resigning because they feel you have let them down? What is that in the relationship between the employee and the leader, boys? Because we're talking about leadership, we're talking about all that stuff. What about, is there something that after 4 or 5 years of leadership, we can now say it's their fault if they go?
No.
I think you need to look at the circumstance.
If I haven't left for a better job or to move forward in life in a way that makes logical sense, then no. It's not their fault. It's not. If the pain's
You mean
great
it's not
enough,
the leader's
eventually.
fault?
No, if the person's not leaving, if someone's worked for you for 5 years and they're getting paid 50 grand a year and they're not leaving you to take a 100 grand a year job, as an example, then there's a very fucking good chance they're leaving because of something to do with the leadership that they've had.
But then you said it's not your fault.
No, it's not the person's
The
fault.
person's fault. Okay.
Because leaders always blame the person.
Yeah. I think you need to look though. If the person's a 100-pound gorilla
and they always wanted, give me more commission, give me this, then they possibly had to go.
Yeah, that's right.
If
They'll
you
make the
if you
organization
weren't-
better.
If your leadership wasn't strong enough to control that person along the way, and you gave them more comm, you gave them this, you gave them that,
Yeah.
and before you realise that person earned like 4 times the amount of money that the company earned, and you had the wrong person, they had to go.
Yeah.
How often does that last 5 years? And I'm asking this as a genuine question because
quite often.
really,
Quite
Okay.
often, because it takes a couple of years to become a 100-pound gorilla.
Okay. I'm asking
Your
because I don't
second or
know.
third year is when you become a 100-pound gorilla. Year
400.
400, sorry.
I
400.
was one after 3 months, mate.
And what do? They send you out to have your own office. You know, like, oh, you go have your own office. We can't have you in here.
Well, he's the only guy in Barara.
Yeah.
Surely, from a leadership and skill standpoint, it shouldn't take 3 or 4 years to work out someone's got the attributes of a 400-pound gorilla.
Yeah,
I know
but
we're getting to a different
No,
subject.
No. But sometimes you just
true.
compromise because that person brings you $500,000. So you go, you know what? I'm going to have to put up with this. Right? So that's the only thing.
And you don't have a minimum team of 4. So it's like they're the only person
You're
I've got.
you're taken hostage.
You're a hostage.
Yeah.
So you first got to decide if a 400-pound gorilla, you sometimes
What
have
if
to
it's
let
not?
it go. Then I believe it comes back to the leader, because were you close to that person? Did you have them in your home? Had you had them out? Had you been talking to them? Did you know their issues at home? I mean, if they left because they went to the next agent for a better deal, sometimes you can't afford to match the better deal.
Yes.
If they've stuck it out with you for 4 or 5 years and then something's happened
right.
where the pain has gotten so great that they can't do it anymore and you're looking anywhere else other than the leadership, then that goes back to what I was trying to get out of you before. What after 10 years clicked for you to say, this is all my fucking doing?
Because I think it's been drummed into us anyway that it's all our doing anyway.
Some
So-
people don't get it, bro.
No, I
Still
know,
won't get
but
it.
it didn't. I probably heard it 15 years ago that it was my fault if someone didn't make it. But I'd go on, they're a loser, or you know,
Thomas is
there's
full of
always an
shit.
excuse.
He's
I mean,
smoking.
I don't think I've ever said that. But you know, I would always think, you know, maybe, you know, I think you're just ready to accept that next level. You know, and again, I watch my team, I watch my managers, and they're ready to step up.
I saw
you
that.
just see the change in them and think that person just got it, and you see someone else change and you see someone who might have been only for a year or two, then someone who's been for a few more years, and then they change, but suddenly the person who's been for a few more years goes, and they watch themselves and think, I'm about to get beaten by some newbies here, I'm going to study a bit harder, and then they step back up.
Yeah.
So can everyone see what you see, I see, you see? No. I mean, it took me a lot of years to see that. You just need to be ready, and I guess you need to be open.
What's the end result then for someone who hasn't got the click yet?
Just keep studying and keep following the system.
But how many people do you burn in between?
Unfortunately, that's
As long as they have money.
that's life. You know, like you just, whatever you can afford.
Once they run out of money,
know.
maybe they'll change.
I take it very personally, and I might take it too personally in some senses. You know, I said before, if I'm going to employ someone, it's my job to do the absolute best by them that I can for their sake, my sake, the business's sake. So when people leave, or when I have to let someone go, I take it to heart. TL will know I very rarely blame the other person. I go through a whole heap of self-reflection on who, what and why, but others just disregard that completely, and it's always the other person's fault. How many people's lives are you going to take into your hands and then discard or burn before that click happens?
I think sadly that's just a fact of business. I don't think that any of the people we've employed are ever totally innocent in anything.
No, it's not about being totally innocent.
So, you know, we can blame ourselves, and I'm the same as you. If I lose a person or let a person go, I beat myself up because where did I go wrong? But then what is the lesson I've learnt out of this person so I don't make it for the next person? Have I let some good people go over the years? Yeah. You can't change it. Like the new young leaders that we've got now are going to go through people because they don't have the experience that necessarily you've got or we've got
I'm
to
one
be
of
able
those
to do that.
young, handsome
There's
leaders,
not. There's
mate,
new. I don't know where handsome. I don't know where handsome came into that. But there's
younger
new
men.
leaders now that are you can't keep using the I'm a young leader trick anymore. You're one of our. You know,
I'm 3. I'm
doesn't matter.
3 years old.
Three senior. You know, there's people who are 6
No,
months
I
and a
understand
year
what you're
old.
saying. I don't
you know?
use anything as an excuse.
No, I was only joking,
and
but-
if I do, I've got someone here that puts a
Which today
size
apparently
7
is,
foot up my ass. But
You know,
what do you reckon, TL? You're asking us, we're babbling on, but someone leaves you after 4 or 5 years who wasn't a 100-pound gorilla and didn't have all the hallmarks of someone that needed to leave the company? What?
I think it is the leader's fault. If someone is a good person and they are leaving because it's their time to go and self-actualize themselves into maybe different field or better that we can't really match, yeah, I understand. There's nothing we can do. But when they fire us, the way that they leave in their resignation is that they are firing us. What they're saying to us is that you don't even deserve me sitting down with you and find a compromise. In that respect, what they are telling us is that we have failed in our leadership. And if we are really feding them and we accept that maybe we failed them, then we can save everybody else who comes afterwards. If we keep on repeating the same story and say, no, that's his fault. He was like this. He didn't want to be there after a certain amount of work. And last year he only brought this. Then we are only condemned to repeat this for another few cycles until the coin drops. And there's only two things that make the coin drop. Either it is the enough pain that makes us change, or we've gone broke, therefore we're out of the game.
I worry because I put someone who's been hearing the same thing for 10 years, day in and day out, and still not changing in the too hard basket. But then hearing you speak after 10 or 12 years, there is still hope that someone can get the click a decade on.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of clicks on the way through. You've got to look at that. Is that person not changed in 10 years? Then don't waste your time. But if there's been a lot of little clicks along the way, then, yeah, it's worth investing because they will get there.
And I agree with Stephen. I mean, the big click he's had at Kickstart is maybe one, but it's a huge click that has actually been waiting to happen, only waiting for little clicks to happen first.
In what we do, one of the biggest clicks you can get is, hang on, my team are me, or I cause this sort of thing. You would have had all those little clicks anyway, but in some ways I'm sure you wish you had that click.
Oh, look, if
10
I could
years
have had
ago
that,
and-
I've been in real estate for 32 years. If I could have had that click 28 years ago, I'd be so happy. But
It's very
it
hard
was
to
the
rate
journey.
clicks, but the ownership click where,
Yeah.
fuck.
No,
this is
I
to
think
me.
that's a small click.
Okay, well, really?
I think it's a really small click. For example, I realize I have an anger issue. It's a very small click.
Been telling you that for 10 years and you've only just clicked.
You haven't even been around 10 years.
Yeah, but I've heard stories,
But,
mate.
but when I catch myself doing anger and now do something about it right at that point in time, that's a big click.
Yeah.
A lot of us are actually putting the big click as the awareness. Awareness is shit, mate. It's just a starting point.
But you can't start without it.
I understand it, but don't make it a big one, because when you make it a big one, you're actually taking the responsibility out of it. That you're going, well, at least I was aware of it. Next time I'll try and change it. No,
I like
that's
that.
bullshit. You have to really go to that next level. Awareness is when you see that the wall's coming. The big click is freaking push on the fucking brakes before you crash on the wall.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay. It's the never-ending questions,
You
mate.
know, to me, it's more the people that we lost to someone else. What did we do wrong? And I mean, you know, every person that joins the Wiseberry family becomes a friends on Facebook. And you suddenly see this person and think, that's not a Wiseberry sign. What happened there? What did we do wrong? That's the questions I see when I see someone that's not in our family anymore and think, why are they not there? And they can't be no good because they've just got a big sold sign in front of a property and then they've got another one. What did we do wrong there?
Sometimes I question it the other way. Like, none of the guys that have left me have resigned from my office, are still in real estate or went to another real estate job. So I sit there and go, fuck, I made life that hard for them that they've given up on the industry, that, you know, in one kid's sense, left school early to do his real estate license. Now he's studying to be a personal trainer. How fucking hard did I make real estate for him?
Do you know in 32 years, I've only got 3 people that are actually in real estate that used to work for me.
Yeah, I fired one person there working for another agency. Good luck to that other agency, but all the quitters.
And I must say the one that's actually the 2 that do the best is because in those days I wasn't prepared to give flexibility and I didn't understand that their generation wanted flexibility. And now I'm sure they'd go, if they weren't doing so well, because they're actually good guys, they're nice people, I still speak to them, they would probably come back.
Yep.
But I had to evolve. It wasn't them, it was me that was the problem. But at the time I was like, no, you do this, you do that, that's how we do it. We don't change. Now, you know, I'm sure they'd be fitting into our team so well.
Oh, well, boys, I think we're going to have him back. I think he's actually a good.
You did
quality
pretty bloody well,
bastard,
mate.
isn't
I
it?
didn't mind that.
Yeah, turned up with
You
not,
kept me
not
quiet for
too
about
bad
10
of a
minutes,
wine.
It's only the
Not too-
wine.
not
I
too
didn't
bad
come
of a
back.
wine.
I mean, I always thought I had a face for radio anyway, or
And,
podcasts.
and I think that his input's not bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
No, I personally would have to say, mate, your leadership has grown. So don't put yourself down. But yes, when you are working around a pool of women, you are going out of comfort zone every fucking damn day. We are not born with the way.
Shit's not easy, bro. You call that shit easy? I fucking hate you.
They're good girls.
So
All right.
I appreciate your input. I think that it was very, very nice to have you around. We will have you back.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
because I think that there's more questions for you. Thanks, boys, for today.
Well done.
No, thank
I
you.
think it was fantastic.
Good chat.
And thank God Chris didn't make it because we had Stephen.
And some decent one. I'm a bit upset we didn't drink all the Chardonnay. I thought that was pretty
But that's
good.
all right,
That
mate.
was
That's
good,
after
but, like, some
podcast,
of
man.
us have to
We're a
drive
bit
home.
we're a bit slow today, mate.
Yeah, you've slowed us down.
Next time.
So
You've
thanks,
slowed us
boys.
down.
Hey, and
Good on
let's
you.
go. Thanks, boys.
See ya.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.